Good evening to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is an important editorial. It is related to the budget. And usually what happens if you go to the editorial page, on the left you see two editorials, short editorials, but today you see only one editorial. So it takes a lot of time. Keeping that in mind, today usually what I do, I present the vocabulary first, then I go to the editorial analysis, and while doing the analysis, I give the words as well, meanings of the words. But today I'm going to go to the editorial directly, and while doing the analysis, I'm going to give the meanings of the words because it takes a lot of time. And today, based on that editorial, you have to learn about 40 words which are very important. Let us go to the editorial. As I said, it is an important editorial. Any editorial related to economy, especially Indian economy, is important. Let us see how it starts. A raft of concessions amid consolidation on budget 2023-24. A raft of concessions. Here, raft, there's one word. It has two different meanings. One meaning, in this context, a large number or range. It also means a lot. A raft of concession means a lot of concessions. But the other meaning, usually raft goes with, if you take bamboo poles, you tie them and you use it for transport while crossing a stream or a river, then that is also known as raft. But it does not go with this context. A raft of concessions amid consolidation. So there is one word here, raft, I have given the meaning. Amid, part of speech preposition. Raft is a noun. Amid means in the middle of or surrounded by. Consolidation, in the middle of consolidation. I use this word quite often. When you learn something by listening to someone, by reading, you learn something. But you should always try to consolidate whatever you learn. How do you consolidate? When it comes to learning, you have to revise regularly and you have to practice a lot. But here, a raft of concession, it's all about the budget. A raft of concessions means a lot of concessions in the middle of consolidation. Consolidation of what? Fiscal consolidation. If you go to the next sentence, you understand that. Fiscal means financial. So it is all about budget 2023-24. What is the main idea of this editorial? We use the word strengthen. Consolidate means strengthen, make something strong. While promoting inclusive development and focusing on fiscal consolidation, the budget gives more to the affluent than to the poor. So it is a paradoxical statement. Something is positive, at the same time, something is negative. While promoting inclusive development, this is something positive. We always talk about, when we talk about growth, we talk about inclusive growth, means touching all the segments of the society and keeping everyone, making everyone part of the mainstream. Inclusive growth, inclusive development, typical combinations, and focusing on fiscal consolidations. There are two dimensions over here. One is promoting inclusive growth or inclusive development, at the same time focusing on fiscal consolidation, financial consolidation. This is something positive, but the budget gives more to the affluent than to the poor. There's another word over here, affluent. It means rich, have a lot of money, or owning a lot of things. If someone has a lot of money, we use the word rich, affluent people, affluent societies, typical combinations. So, as I said, this budget, the editorial focuses on the positive aspects, at the same time, negative aspects. If the budget making is a complex task, interpreting the union budget can be hazardous given the amount of fine print that one has to pore over. If budget making is a complex task, budget making is not an easy task. It is an uphill task. Uphill means very difficult. Difficult and complex task. That is one thing. Interpreting the union budget. Interpreting the budget can be hazardous. Actually, the word hazardous goes with chemicals, pollutants. Hazardous means something that is dangerous, part of speech adjective. It can be dangerous. Why? Given the amount of fine print that one has to pour over to understand or to interpret the budget, you have to go through a lot of pages. Here, fine print, a lot of pages. Pour over, that is a phrasal verb. What does it mean? To look at and study something, usually a book or document, carefully. So making the budget is something, an uphill task, not easy, a complex task. But at the same time, interpreting that budget can be dangerous, hazardous. Why? If you ask a question, you have to go through a lot of many pages, amount of a large amount of fine print. That's what the sentence means. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's fifth budget and the current Bharatiya Janata Party led government's final full pledged one before next year's general election ticks all the right boxes on the face of it. So, this is the fifth budget being presented by Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister, and also it is the final and full-fledged budget of the current regime, that is the BJP party. There's one word over here, full-fledged means what? Part of speech adjective, completely developed or trained. Generally, it goes with full-fledged, in this context, budget. It goes with a project or it goes with a particular thing. Full-fledged project means completely developed before general election, next year's general election, and ticks all the right boxes on the face of it. This is an important expression, on the face of it, means at the out, when you look at it, on the face of it, initial impression. So it ticks all the right boxes. Keeping the elections in mind, it touches all the right aspects. That's what the sentence means. Inclusive development that ensures, this is nothing but reiteration of the main idea. Inclusive development that ensures prosperity for all. When we talk about development, when we talk about growth, we always use the word inclusive. Inclusive development, inclusive growth. Why should we talk about that? Why should we focus on inclusive growth? Why not isolated approach? Inclusive development ensures prosperity for all. There's another word, prosperity. Means what? The state of being successful and having a lot of money. Prosperous prosperity. Again, being rich. So when we take this approach, holistic approach, inclusive growth, it results in or ensures prosperity for all different segments, especially the youth, women, farmers, other backward classes, scheduled castes, and scheduled tribes. A focus on infrastructure and investment that serves as a multiplier for growth. So, here, inclusive development, we have to focus on different segments of the society, especially the underdeveloped, underprivileged, or downtrodden people. The first part of the sentence expresses that idea. At the same time, for inclusive growth, we should focus on infrastructure. So, what comes under infrastructure? Transport, housing, water, power. Now, even education is included under infrastructure. A focus on infrastructure and investment that serves as a multiplier for growth and employment, policies to enable green or environmentally sustainable growth. One more dimension. We have to include all the segments, the different segments of the society, one thing, and we have to focus on infrastructure, another thing. Besides these two, because today we all know the impact of negative impact on the environment, policies to enable green or environmentally sustainable growth. Today we use this word quite often, sustainability, sustainable growth. One of the meanings, it has many meanings, part of speech adjective, able to continue over a period of time. That is one meaning. Another meaning, sustainability, using the resources, keeping in mind the future generations. Sustainable growth, the rationalization of direct taxes. Another word here, rationalization, means to try to find reasons to explain your behavior or decisions. You can also think of the word justification of direct taxes, including a raft of concession to the middle and salaried classes. One more segment, including a raft of concessions to the middle and salaried classes and pensioners, and most importantly, besides all these, doing all this while staying the course on fiscal consolidation. As I said, this budget, there are two dimensions. One, inclusive growth. When we talk about inclusive growth, we focus on the different segments of the society, especially the downtrodden segments, and we focus on infrastructure. We focus on sustainable growth, and we also focus on rationalization of direct taxes, keeping in mind concession to the middle and salaried classes. Besides all these, the focus should be on fiscal consolidation. So, this while staying the course on fiscal consolidation, financial consolidation. A lengthy sentence, but easy to understand the idea of this sentence, the main idea. How is this budget termed? Terming it the first budget in Amrit Kal. Sitaraman sounded the poll bugle by emphasizing the ruling dispensation's achievements since 2014, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi first assumed office. So here the budget has been termed the first budget in Amrit Kal. That is one thing. And it sounded, when they termed it a budget in Amrit Kal, it sounded the poll bugle. This is a new word we have got for the first time. Pole bugle. Bugle means what? A musical instrument which looks like a trumpet. So, pole bugle means related to elections. By emphasizing the ruling dispensations, dispensation in this context means a political or religious system controlling a country at a particular time. You can also think of the word regime. Achievement since 2014, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi first assumed office. There's another important word, assume. Assume has got two different meanings. One meaning of assume, to consider something right without evidence. And generally we say, don't assume things. Assumptions are very dangerous. But in this context, it has a different meaning. Here, assume means to take or begin to have responsibility or control. Assume office means to get power. Per capita income, she said, had more than doubled. Today, because it's a lengthy editorial, I'm not focusing on the grammar dimension. I'm focusing more on the analysis and the vocabulary part because about 40 words are there. It takes a lot of time. Per capita income, she said, had more than doubled to 1.97 lakh as a result of the economy's growth to being the world's fifth largest and the government's efforts to ensure a better quality of living for all. So generally when they present a budget, they talk about we come across facts and figures, statistical data about the growth especially. So here, per capita income, she said, had more than doubled to 1.97 lakh. And what is the reason for that? As a result of the economy's growth, to being the world's fifth largest and the government's efforts to ensure a better quality of living for all. So these are the reasons for per capita income to get doubled to 1.97 lakh. She also cited, cite means to quote, a part of speech verb, it's a regular verb, to mention something as a proof for a theory. And whenever you come across certain words are very good. Who is this Ramesh? I appreciate that. You have to think of, you have to be a smart learner. If it is related to something from the exam point of view, you have to recollect. This goes with confusing words. CITE, site means quote. Then you have SITE, site, place. And you also have SIGHT, site, sightseeing. So all the three words you have to recollect and make sure you know the meanings. She also cited an increase in formalization of the economy. Formal, informal, there are two terms. Formal means based on the establishment, based on the structure, and informal, not based on a particular system or structure. Formalization of the economy and the widespread adoption of digital technologies, especially in the payment sphere, as other significant achievements. One achievement, per capita income doubled. What are the other achievements? She also cited, she quoted an increase in formalization of the economy, one thing, and the widespread adoption of digital technologies. There's one word over here, adoption. Adopt has two different meanings. One meaning, you take someone's child and make yours legally. That is known as adoption, adopted child. But in this context, adoption means accepting or starting to use something new. So, in this context, using digital technologies. especially in the payments sphere. This is again an important word. Sphere in this context means a range or area of activity. For this, you have to recollect the synonym sphere, activity, a realm. A realm, R-E-A-L-M, a realm, that's how it is pronounced. Realm also means sphere. With an eye on India at 100, the budget proposals, Sitaraman said, were aimed at actualizing a technology driven and knowledge based economy with strong public finances and a robust financial sector. This sentence is about where the focus is on or what it is aimed at. With an eye on India at 100, the budget proposals aimed at, Sitaraman said, reported speech, were aimed at actualizing, materializing a technology driven and knowledge based economy with strong public finances and a robust financial sector. Robust, an important word. It means what? Strong and healthy. It also means vigorous, emphasizing that the economic agenda for achieving this vision. So there's a vision. What is that vision? Technology driven and knowledge based economy. Today, if you look at the economies of different countries, those who focus on technology, those who focus on knowledge based economy, they are prospering. And keeping that in mind, technology driven and knowledge based economy with strong public finances, that is also very important, and a robust financial sector, emphasizing that the economic agenda for achieving this vision. This is a vision. So, how to achieve this vision? Emphasizing that the economic agenda for achieving this vision would, among other things, require, when you have a vision, you have to do something to make that vision a reality, to make it real. And you have to do something, you require something. Require a focus on giving a strong impetus. Impetus, an important word. Impetus means what? Something that encourages a particular activity or makes that activity more energetic or effective. To growth and job creation, growth and job creation, these two things are very important. The minister laid out her budget proposals that were heavy on this. Layout is a verb, and this is an important verb. It goes with confusing verbs. There are two verbs, lie, lay. Lie could be a noun, it could be a regular verb, it could be an irregular verb. As an irregular verb, it is important from the exam point of view. Lie, lay, lane has two different meanings. One meaning to be in the horizontal position while relaxing. The other meaning to be in a particular state for a long time. And we have another verb, lay, laid, laid. Here, that is a verb in the past form. It means to put something down or to arrange something on a flat surface. The minister laid out her budget proposals. Usually, this verb goes with rules and regulations. In this context, budget proposals, roads, foundation stone, things, babies, all these. Layoff is something different. Layoff means to remove someone from a job. The minister laid out her budget proposals that were heavy on this. Government's trademark acronyms. There's an important word here, acronym. Usually I ask the students, what is the difference between an acronym and an abbreviation? Abbreviation means you take the first letters from different words and you pronounce every word, every letter. For example, if I say BBC, I've taken the first letters and have pronounced all the three letters BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation. Then what is an acronym? You take the first letters of different words and you form a word. When you form a word, then it becomes an acronym. For example, NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and WHO, yes, World Health Organization, very good. Oh, Tapa, you are there. So these are acronyms. Trademark means typical acronyms describing the various schemes, but relatively light on details. It's a lengthy sentence. Were heavy on this government's trademark acronyms describing the various schemes, but relatively light on details, means they touch the schemes, but they don't mention or talk about the schemes in detail. To substantiate that statement, PM Vikas or Pradhan Mantri Vishwakarma Kaushal Samman, for instance, would for the first time offer traditional artisans and craftspeople or Vishwakarmas a package of assistance aimed at helping them improve the quality, scale, and reach of the product, she said. This is a lengthy sentence, but it substantiates the previous statement. Focus on acronyms, but not on details. To substantiate that statement, they have taken the editorial gives the example of Vikas, an acronym. What does it stand for? It is a word formed based on the first letters of PM Vikas, the different words. So Pradhan Mantri, Vishwakarma, here PM. Vishwakarma Kaushal Samman. So from they have taken VI and here KA and here S. You get the acronym Vikas. For instance, would for the first time offer traditional artisans, an important word. It means what? Someone who does skilled work with their hands, manually, skilled work, and craftspeople. And these are known as Vishwakarmas. A package of assistance aimed at helping them here, helping them to improve. They may give in the exam, but you have to remember and recollect help and make. They are known as causative verbs. Causative verbs in active voice don't take the preposition to. So helping them to improve, wrong. Helping them improve the quality, scale, and reach of their product, she said. Again, to substantiate that statement, no, they talk about the acronyms, they talk about the schemes, but they don't focus on details. That is actual statement. To substantiate, to justify specifics, including a financial outlay and the likely mechanics of implementation were, however, not spelled out. As I said, the first sentence is about the government focusing on the acronyms or schemes, but not focusing on details. So, continuation of that idea, editorial gives the example of Vishwakarmas, and there is the budget talks about or the government talks about providing assistance, but it does not tell how in detail. Specifics. When you say you want to help someone, obviously you have to tell how you're going to help. It should be specific. So, in this context, specifics, including a financial outlay and the likely mechanics of implementation, were, however, not spelled out. Spell out means to tell something in detail. This is important from the exam point of view because exam point of view, there's an important topic, redundancy. Redundancy means unnecessary use of words. In some exams they've given, this goes with that particular topic. A lot of people say, can you spell it out in detail? Or could you spell it out in detail? That is wrong. Spell out means to say something in detail. So you should not say spell it out in detail. You have to stop with could you spell it out? Then it is correct. Never say could you spell it out in detail? That is wrong. Redundancy. Similarly, one more example, the editorial, superfluous. That's right. One more example, similarly, a mangrove initiative for shoreline habitats. Habitat, the home of a plant or an animal. That means a particular place where an animal can survive. We use the term habitat. And today we talk about loss of habitat. You may get it as a passage, an important word. Shoreline habitats and tangible incomes. Tangible, intangible. Tangible means concrete, something you can see or touch. Intangible, abstract, you cannot see or touch. So here, another example, mangrove forest along the coastline, mangrove initiative for shoreline habitats and tangible incomes, or MISTI, aimed at undertaking mangrove plantation along the coastline and on salt pan lands, leaves the funding to a convergence between leaves the funding to a convergence. Convergence means to unite, to join between MGNREGS and a compensatory afforestation fund. Two different dimensions and convergence of these two. With the rural sector's mainstay employment guarantee scheme, one that was introduced during the Congress-led United Progressive Alliance government's term, itself increasingly being starved of budgetary support, it is hard to fathom how the new initiative to protect and regenerate the ecologically sensitive mangroves will be funded. Again, a lengthy sentence. But what does it express? It talks about a particular scheme, and this scheme was initiated during the Congress led United Progressive Alliance government's term. It is increasingly being starved of budgetary support, means no funds. There's one word over here, starve. Usually it goes with food, starving to death, to cause someone become very weak or die because there is not enough food to eat. Imagine for 2 days you don't have food. Then what do you say? I'm starving. And if it continues, then you starve to death. In this context, no funds. Because of that situation, it is hard to fathom. Fathom has got two different meanings. One meaning, the typical meaning, it is a unit of measurement. It goes with water. It is equivalent to 6 feet. It goes with measuring the depth, fathom. But in this context, another completely different meaning as a verb. As a unit of measurement, it's a noun, but here as a verb to discover the meaning of something. So it is hard to fathom, means what? It is difficult to understand, it is difficult to make out, it is difficult to figure out how the new initiative to protect and regenerate the ecologically sensitive mangroves will be funded. The project or the scheme does not have the funds, so how can it be developed or protected? The decrease in outlay comes at a time when the rural economy is still to regain vigor from the ravages of the pandemic, the fallout on incomes from the uneven distribution of last year's monsoon rainfall. Now, this the previous sentence is about shortage of funds and the decrease in outlay, reducing the funds comes at a wrong time, in fact. Why is it a wrong time? The rural economy still to regain vigor. Vigor means the strength from the ravages of the pandemic. Ravages means the impact, the damage caused by disease, war, time, etc. In this context, the disease, the pandemic, one thing. The fallout on incomes. Fallout has got two different meanings. Here it is a noun. As a phrasal verb, a different meaning. But here it has been used as a noun. The unpleasant results or effects of an action or event. The fallout on incomes from the uneven distribution of last year's monsoon rainfall. Negative impact and the relatively greater impact of high food inflation on hinterland households. Another important word, hinterland, means the land behind the coast or the banks of a river or an area of a country that is far away from cities or people. At a broader level, the budget estimate for expenditure on rural development in 23-24 is pegged at, means it is at 2.38 lakh crore, a marginal zero point 0.1 percentage point increase when measured as a proportion of overall expenditure at 5.3% compared with the 5.2% in the previous budget estimate. It's all about statistics. When viewed against the revised estimate, the outlay is a good zero point 0.6 percentage point lower. Food subsidy too has been sharply pared. Another dimension, another aspect, food subsidy. So pare means to reduce something drastically, especially by a large amount. At 1.97 lakh crore, it is almost 5% lower than, so reduced, the 2023 budget estimate and a steep 31% down from the revised estimate. Again, statistics. To be sure, the government resolve, an important word. Resolve as a verb means to find out a solution for a problem. To stay, a resolution, again, a firm decision. To stay the course on fiscal consolidation, main idea is being reiterated, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic had led it to spend more, even as revenue receipts dipped amid the unprecedented economic contraction. So, on the one hand, economic contraction because of the impact of the COVID, but at the same time, the government had to spend more, though the revenue receipts dipped, means came down. Left Sitaraman with little leeway on the expenditure front. Because of this situation, the finance minister was left with little leeway. Means leeway means freedom. Little leeway means no freedom at all. A little means at least some. Little means almost nothing, hardly anything. It has a negative connotation. How does the editorial end? She had decided that the government would concentrate its resources on increased public outlays on infrastructure and investment. Again, the second dimension, infrastructure. Capital expenditure has been allocated based on that 10 lakh crore, a 33% jump from this fiscal budget estimate. If one adds almost 3.7 lakh crore set aside for grants in aid to states for the creation of capital assets, the minister's laudable intent to apply the force multiplier of government capital spending as a primary lever to spur economic activity becomes clearly evident. So, allotting funds related to investment and capital expenditure, not only at the center but also grants in aid to states for the creation of capital assets. That intention is laudable, an important word. Laudable means what? Highly appreciable. To apply the force multiplier of government capital spending as a primary lever to spur economic activity. So, why should they do that? To spur economic activity. There's another important word, spur, means to encourage an activity or development or make it happen faster. You can also think of words like to speed up, to accelerate. With global demand uncertain this year on account of the slowdown in the developed economies, as the economic survey pertinently pointed out, India's domestic market will necessarily have to serve as the economy's bulwark. Now, there's a problem if you look at the present world economy. Global demand uncertain. What is the reason? The war, first pandemic, then the war. With global demand uncertain this year on account of slowdown in the developed economies. Right now, there is recession in developed economies, slowdown and recession as well. And based on that, the economic survey pertinently pointed out an important word. I should have brought it in red. Pertinent means relevant. And the typical combinations, pertinent remark, pertinent statement, pointed out India. So there is a problem. What should come to help? India's domestic market will necessarily have to serve as the economy's bulwark. Bulwark, an important word, something that protects you from dangerous or unpleasant situations. So the domestic market is going to help because global demand is uncertain. Sitaraman has also attempted to woo the middle class. Woo means to attract, to persuade someone to support you or your business. The middle class with a raft of changes, a range of changes in personal income tax that would, in combination with tweaks to customs duties. Another important word, tweak, to change something slightly, especially in order to make it more correct, effective, or suitable to customs duties. In total cost, the government 37,000 crore in foregone tax revenue. Forego, to leave something, not to consider something. At the fag end of the editorial, how does the editorial end? Some of these changes are aimed at leaving more money in the hands of salaried and pensioners. Some changes have been made, and what is the impact? Some of these changes are aimed at what is the objective? Leaving more money in the hands of the salaried people and pensioners, cash that budget planners hope would find its way back either. Budget planners hope would find its way back either as savings or increased spending on vital consumption. Two things may happen. One, it may result in savings. The other, increased spending on vital consumption, means important consumption. The biggest beneficiaries, generally when the budget is presented, we look at the beneficiaries, that those who get benefited. The biggest beneficiaries of the income tax changes, though, are likely to be those in the highest income bracket, not the low, not the middle. The biggest beneficiaries of the income tax changes, though contrasting word, are likely to be actually the lower or middle should get the benefits. They should be the biggest beneficiaries. But on the contrast, the biggest beneficiaries are the highest income bracket, those in the highest income bracket, where the effective rate has been cut by 3.74 percentage points, reinforcing. Reinforce means to reiterate or strengthen a perception that this government bats for the affluent. It ends on a negative note. All this shows, the last sentence, it shows that it is for the affluent people, highest income bracket, those in the highest income bracket. And based on that, it shows that reinforces the perception, means the view, the idea. This government bats for, means is for the affluent, means the rich, those who have a lot of money. That's all about this editorial. How long has it taken? Usually it's a short editorial, but today it is like doing two editorials at the same time. Now let us go to questions based on comprehension. Comprehension based on today's editorial. You have to write, this is an important editorial. What is this editorial about? Please write in brief. Could be two sentences, could be three sentences, but try to write in your own sentences in brief, in a nutshell. That habit will help in the long run. What does the budget focus on? The budget focuses on two things. What does it focus on? What can be hazardous in the context of the editorial? So, whenever you try to answer questions based on comprehension, in the question you come across keywords, and those keywords you have to focus on. The same keyword, if you come across in the passage, the answer is usually over there. So, here, what is the keyword? What can be hazardous, dangerous in the context of the editorial? What did the finance minister cite as other significant achievements? What are the key words over here? Cite other significant achievements, important achievements. You have to go to the editorial, navigate, locate these words, then you find the answer. What were not spelled out in the context of the editorial? What are the key words spelled out? Certain things were not spelled out in the context of the editorial. Again, you have to look for this expression spelled out, phrasal verb. Then you find the answer. What did the economic survey pertinently point out? The economic survey pertinent means relevant, pointed out something. What is it? You can easily answer. So that's all about today's editorial. Today also I haven't brought intentionally practice questions based on exam topics and also vocabulary based on the words from the editorial, words and meanings, because it is a lengthy editorial. I had to spend a lot of time. But do remember, based on the editorial, I do the analysis. Today it is not a short one, it is like doing two editorials at the same time. Try to spend time on important words, and tomorrow I'll bring one exercise. You got some important words yesterday, you have got some important words today, and based on, I will take some important words, then I will bring one exercise. That way you can consolidate your vocabulary. Thanks for being with me till the fag end of the